To install the Touch7 Photo plugin, it's extremely simple. First of all, download the file from the Touch7 website and double click on it. That will then install the plugin into Adobe Creative Cloud. It's an extremely simple process. Next, on the registration panel, first set up your account. So put in your email address. Make sure you put your email address in correctly, because if you don't, you will not get your activation code. So we've had some people in the past that trying to not put in the right email address. It won't work. You have to put in a real one. Okay, InfoCase Technology. Click on the send button. That will then set up an account on our server and our system for you, and it will then send you an activation code by email. It takes a couple of moments to send across and set up, so don't panic. Just click it once and then it will send that information across, and you'll get a confirmation in a minute. And once it's done, you will then have two options. We can basically activate a trial license. As it says here, trial users, check your email for your activation code. License users, paste your license code above to unlock the plugin. So if you do have a license code, at this stage you can now unlock the full product. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to run a trial mode. Now, trial mode will allow you to run the plugin for 7 days. Okay, so let me go and grab my activation code. Okay, so I've got my activation code here, and it may take a minute for your email to arrive. So again, don't panic if it doesn't drop into your inbox straight away. Just be patient with it. Also, you could check your spam folder, because sometimes it may go into the spam folder. So what you're after is the activation code. So I'm going to copy that code. And back inside here, we're going to click onto the box here and paste our activation code in and click on activate. If you put the wrong code in, it will tell you, for example, if you're trying to use the activation code from a Neon plugin inside an ECG or vice versa, and get it the wrong way around, it will tell you. So click on activate. What we'll do is it will open up the plugin now in a trial mode. So trial activation successful. Trial mode restricts output size to 1200 pixels at 72 dpi. So we've had to put a file restriction on the output size for dimensions and resolution, because we originally had a plugin in high resolution mode, and all people were doing was putting in a different email address every 7 days and never buying a product and bypassing the licensing system. So unfortunately, we do have to put a choke on the file size. We don't like putting watermarks into the separations, because you want to be able to see how the separations work, and there's nothing worse than having watermarks all over your separations. It's a destructive way of working. So low resolution output. So now if I work on this image here and I generate a separation, it is going to give you that warning, trial mode restricts output size to 1200 pixels at 72 dpi, and you can see there that the file has been obviously changed in size. So it's perfectly suitable for working, for testing out how the plugin works. It's just in low resolution mode. Okay, so at this stage, if you are working with the plugin, then that is your restrictions. Just to give you an overview of how the system works, we have a press configuration setting. So first of all, let me reset my image. So the typical way of working, you go to press configurations and you find the machine that you're working with. So for example, if I am working, let's just say for example, I'm working with a Sharp on the BP1200S. So Sharp only has a fluorescent pink. So we only have the pink buttons being visible. If I work with a different company like SwissQ Print has a neon pink and a neon yellow that's compatible with this plugin. So it'll load up specific buttons. So each set of buttons then runs independent algorithms based upon how the inks look on those machines, because a neon yellow on the SwissQ is completely different to a neon yellow on a different machine. So it's very important you use the right one. There's a little reminder which ink set you have loaded in case you've forgotten, but you could also find it from inside the menu. Down at the bottom, we have a short user manual. It's very simple. Select a preset, press your buttons, review and refine, apply SCR, and I'll explain about that in a moment. Adjust spot channel levels, boost neon intensity. So it gives you a step-by-step guide. We also have an information box that tells you the information about what version you're on. You can go to the licensing and links through to the website. Okay, so we're going to assume at this stage that we've basically decided we like the plugin and we're now going to license up a full version. So back on the registration panel, we can go in here and add a license code. So let me go and generate myself a license code. Just bear with me a second. Okay, so I have my license code, I paste it into the box and I click license. It will then do another license validation check, and now it's converting that plugin over into the full unlocked version. So just again, be patient with it, let it do its thing. It will then send all the information, it configures everything on the license server, and it's now translated everything back into a full working product. So license activation is successful. So let me say, for example, I'm working with, let's go with Fujifilm Revoria, and I'm doing a pink separation. So when I press this button now, it is no longer giving me the warning, it's no longer doing it in low resolution. We have a high resolution image separation. I'm going to do a couple of different ink separations so you can see the difference. So for example, if I was working on a Ricoh and I do a pink separation, then the pink separation on a Ricoh machine, the pink is different to the Revoria. So if you look at the color of this separation when I switch over, so this was the Ricoh, that is the Fujifilm Revoria. So you can see completely different colors for their ink. So it's extremely important when you're separating your files to use the correct press configuration settings. Okay, so from here, let's just get rid of that Ricoh separation. So we've got our separation done, but we don't just want to leave it at that, because at the moment we have the original image with the color sat on the top. And yes, that is one way you could output the file and you can use it to basically enhance the separation. But I'm going to show you a few more tips and tricks on how to use the system. Of course, we do have all of this information in a user manual. So if you're unfamiliar with the English language, you can go to the Touch7 website and you can translate our user manual into any language. Okay, so typical way of working. We're going to, first of all, let me just pin up my plugin over at the side. I'm going to get rid of any dot that I don't want. So you can see here on the guitar and up here on the controllers of the guitar, a little bit in the face, there's a bit of dot that the algorithm is picking up. So for example, if I look up at the top here and we look at this pin here, you can see the pink pixels inside the image. So it is a mathematical calculation, so it is going to find all those pink pixels. So what we recommend using is the dodge tool. Set it to highlights and exposure about 20%. Then you can just quickly rub over these areas, and it's extremely easy. It's only going to target the highlights, so you don't have to be super critical on doing all your rubbing out. So I'm just going to tease out the areas that I don't want to be working with, such as that. And when I have my separation done, which as you can see only takes a couple of seconds, I can then decide now to use the SCR function. So SCR, what does that mean? Well, SCR means source color removal. So this is the next button that I'm going to work with. So as I mentioned before, we have our original image with the pink sat on the top at the moment. So I'm going to use the SCR button. So you'll see that we've now got an image that's been converted into CMYK, and when it converts your image to CMYK, it's using your color settings. So whatever you have set up in Photoshop, it's going to be using your color settings to do the conversion. So we now have three other options. So we've got no SCR, which is your default image, and then we've got different levels of color removal. And depending on which way you go, you can get three different types of effects. So you can decide which one you like to work with. You can also, at this stage, go into your level, into your separation itself and use levels. So Command L on a Mac, Control L on a PC to bring up your levels. And we can take this shadow pointer here and drag that up to the start of the histogram. So basically what we're doing is we're forcing from the top shadow point, the deepest, most saturated or pinkest part on the image is now set to 100%, and the midtones and the highlights are scaled proportionately. So now what we've done, we've basically done an image separation. It's using the auto masking tools that we've developed. It's pulled out the pink pixels in the image, and then we're enhancing that pink pixel to put more in it. And if I turn off the pink and show you what's happening with these color separations, you'll see that different mathematical calculations give you a different result. So original image, and these are the SCR options. So you decide which level you want to work with. Now you could output all four of them. So I quite like option number 1 in this case. But I could save this as option number 1, I could save another one as option number 2, and I could print all of them out on my press and compare them to get the best result. Now the top tip is that every single image is different, so don't get familiar and think that option number 1 is going to give you the best image every time. It completely changes based on the actual pixel content of your image, which is why we've developed 3 different options, because not all images are the same. Every image is different. So when you get familiar with it, it's extremely simple to use. From this point, all we have to do is save the file. So I'm going to save as, and in this case, I'm going to save that as a TIFF. And when you save it as a TIFF, it will save that spot color. Simple as that. Okay, so let's move on to do another image. So in this case, this image is classically going to be using a neon yellow. So I'm going to use the neon yellow on the Ricoh machine this time. So press the neon yellow. I can do my color removal, get rid of any area, because you will see, like on the sole of the shoe, obviously you've got yellow pixels in here, there's yellow on the back of here, and this is typical of how photos look. So if you can see in here, you can see it all the way down this edge. Anything that's in the image is going to be replicated. So you can see here this halo edge here. This is nothing to do with Touch7, it's just what's inside the image itself. So obviously our algorithm is going to pick up that pixels. So as we say, go in there, tease out anything that you don't want. And you may find that working in color mode is not the most ideal way to work. So if you want to, in Photoshop, go to your settings, go to interface, and then down here, show channels in color, switch that off, or switch it on depending on whether you've got it switched off or not. So now I can see much more clearly where any of those pixels are. Like here, I've missed a little bit around the edge of the hands. Now the reason why we teach you this is because fifth color is an extra chargeable ink, which means that for every pixel of ink that you're using and printing, you're paying for it. So you really don't want to put it in areas that you don't want to enhance. It's wasteful. So whereas you may find some devices have a profile option on the press that can separate an image and create you a neon separation, it cannot do anything like this. You cannot selectively enhance specific areas of an image. This is what Photoshop is for, designing and applying the image correctly. So we can see here we've now got the original image with the neon yellow over the top. My personal preference is to use the neon yellow as an overprint. I find it, because neon yellow is quite a translucent color, I find it works best as an overprint. But if you want to use the SCR function, again, we give you 3 different levels. And you'd have to do this at each image. Obviously, you have to do each image one at a time. So you can see here, if you can go too far, you start to lose some of that tonality in the modeling inside the image. Whereas, like here, so like I said, I think personally, no SCR option works better for me. Save your file, move on. Okay, so last one for the neon pink, and then we'll go into the ECG plugin. So exactly the same workings as we've always done in this one, but I'm going to show you a little trick. So for example, this image is not classically pink. It's kind of like a coral pinkish color. It's not like a bright, vibrant pink, but we can use certain techniques. So for example, we are going to start off with, let's do the yellow first. So we'll do a neon yellow separation. We'll work on that separation. So again, let's just tease out some of that color in here. Make a brush a bit bigger. Because obviously we don't want these people looking slightly alien. As soon as you start playing with your levels and pushing more pixels up, it does mean you're pushing more pixels into the image. And of course you can be as accurate as you want. I won't spend too much time doing this because I don't want to waste too much time for you. But what we're going to do after this, we're going to enhance the colored background and make it more pink. Okay, so let's say that's all right for our image. Let's get around the hairline. Okay, so we have a neon yellow separation. I'm going to leave that as an overprint. As I said, I prefer that as an overprinting separation. Next, we're going to work on the pink. So before we do that, I'm going to actually do a color layer over the top. So I'm going to go and create a, in fact, actually, let's do it this way. Select subject. And now let's inverse the selection, so we're selecting all the background. And let's just get rid of this bit here on the hand, because that's masked off. Obviously, take your time with doing your masking. So now I'm going to do a new hue and saturation layer. So it's a layer mask. I'm going to click the little hand tool here with a slider, and put my dropper over the background. It's not super critical of doing it this way because the background's been isolated in a mask, but it's just to isolate that color range. What I can do now is I can then move the slider and basically change the color of that background, and I can make it a little bit more saturated and basically make it look more pink. Now that is a non-destructive layer, so you have the original layer there. Now if I now do that pink separation, we have our new image. I can, if I want, turn off that original color, but it's still there in place. It's non-destructive. We now have the neon yellow and the neon pink. So on this neon pink one, again, same thing. Let's go inside here and let's use the dodge tool. And let's just get rid of this area around here. We'll leave a little bit in the lips, give a little bit of color. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the SCR option. So pink SCR, that's now going to flatten down that image. We'll get rid of all the layers and give us our 3 SCR options. So we can remove color at different levels. We can now push through our slider, so we can use our levels to push more pink into the image. And let's turn on and off the separation so you can see the difference. So you'll start to see how those different SCR functions work. So that's the original image, 1 level of SCR, 2 level of SCR, and another one. So that's a little bit too clean for me. I kind of like that one there, SCR option number 2. What you can also do is we have a boost function. Because if you do find that you're getting some like artifacts in your separations, it's because whatever's inside your image to start with is going to be boosted up. So for example, if we start playing around with this channel here, on the right one, make sure I'm not selecting any layers. I guess I have to be on the right one. You'll find that inside your image, why isn't that moving? Help if I'm on the right level, I guess. There we go. So you will see that when you start pushing up that separation, you can see dot appearing. So basically, highly compressed JPEG images from stock library, which is what this is. You're always going to enhance certain pixels. It's always going to come out in your separation like that. But what we can also do is use a boost function. Now the boost function will boost up that separation by 25% at a time. So let's just do that now. You can see how we're adding more on top of it, and we're removing some of that kind of like pixelated artifact compression in the background. So we've done that. Same thing on the yellow. We can go in here and play with our levels and push more neon yellow into here. And that is a quick and easy way to be able to show you how you can do color enhancement by changing other colors in the image. So it's not always just about what's inside the image, but we try and teach you some Photoshop techniques to basically work with the tools. Okay, so that is how we work with the Neon plugin.